Welcome to Film Majors. I'm your host, William Stewart with the Hoosier Network, and this is a show talking about Indiana athletics, or some of the biggest games in college athletics, and we learn why the game went the way it did. We got to see our first rivalry weekend of college basketball to start February, and we'll be studying the Indiana in-state rivalry between Purdue and the Hoosiers, who played Friday evening in primetime. Roll it! In the first matchup of the basketball state rivalry, Purdue won 81-76, but it was back and forth until the last, say, 3 seconds of the game. Now this week, we're going to go through the game chronologically, from tip-off all the way to those last 3 seconds until the buzzer hit 0. Now I only had the highlights to work with for visuals, so I can't show everything, including missed shots and stuff like that. We're just going to go straight into the film, and it's going to be a lot of bucket getting. Now the first bucket of the game, you're going to notice Ballo's posted up, and he's obviously going to be drawing a lot of attention from Purdue. Entry pass is going to come in from Leal, and he immediately draws Lawyer down. He draws in the help from the forward over here, and Mbako's left wide open at the top of the screen. And what Mbako's done really well this season, especially in the last few games, effort, and just being sure he's aware of where he's at on the court. Now Purdue does something very similar. They're running a screen, and Braden Smith's going to hit a tough shot. The two plays that we just watched, just keep in mind what happened. Mbako scored, and Braden Smith scored a tough bucket. That was very consistent throughout this whole game, as I'm sure you all remember from watching it just a few days ago. The next bucket looks very similar to Purdue's last bucket. It's another screen from the ball handler, high screen at the top of the key. It's going to be a roll, but it's going to be a floater for Fletcher Lawyer, which Indiana does very well with Trey Galloway, but Purdue does it to them. Now this is a play that Indiana ran last game against Maryland. It's Mbako and Ballo setting him a ball screen and kind of just let Mbako go to work. He gets a matchup that he likes. He gets a little bit of space between two defenders, hits the pull-up jumper, and now back to Purdue. Braden Smith coming off another screen and hitting another leaner. The issue that you see consistently with Indiana is their defense on screens. It happened against Maryland, and it happened again against Purdue. They just can't figure out how to guard him. Now, granted, Braden Smith's hitting tough leaner after tough leaner, and he continues to do it throughout the game. But still, there needs to be more of a contest on these shots that he's getting off, because Ballo can't just drop back like he's consistently doing when Leal is straight up just getting bodied here in this situation. His whole face is stuck into the chest of the Purdue screen from Trakoff and Wren. He recovers very well, but still, Braden Smith able to get a good enough look that he's got an open shot when he immediately is starting to pull up. Now, this is a great play from Indiana, just a quick elevator screen to get the hot hand and open shot. And Mbako. Now, on this one, he does miss this three, but Indiana's effort coming into play here. Trey Galloway finds the rebound, finds an open goodie, missed the first shot, but still more effort from Indiana. This time, it's 12 and able to get it out to Goody again. And now back to Purdue's side of things. This game, you see it's back and forth with the score. It's a great play by Braden Smith, able to make Rice jump, finds Trakoff and Wren, who's immediately picked up by Goody, who's down here already bodying him up, while Ballo is also trying to help over on Braden Smith in the paint. But it's just better offense by Trakoff and Wren, which was a consistent theme of this game. Now here's a handoff, and like we saw earlier from Lawyer and Purdue, Galloway able to get the easy floater to go off of a screen from Ballo. And now here is actually a really good defensive possession by Indiana on the screen. Ballo able to help over just enough where it forces Braden Smith to have to slow down. Galloway's able to recover. And Coffin-Wren hasn't totally rolled, but he's not exactly popping to the three-point line. He's kind of just staying close to Braden to give him kind of a bailout option, which he does in that, and Ballo's still able to be right there. Has a hand up, but still giving enough space to say, hey, test his jumper. Makes a jump shot, what are you going to do? And now here's one of my favorite plays that Indiana runs. It's this double screen with two of their better players on the floor. You've got Leal taking the ball. He's going to end up taking it around here. But Ballo's going to end up rolling, while Goody up here, he's a shooter, and you know you're going to have to stay on top of him so you don't just give him an open three from the top of the key. In this case, Smith switches. Purdue switches onto Leal. But Ballo's still got a one-on-one, and there's even an option in Mbako down here in the corner for an open three ball, which keep that in mind. But in this one, Leo just dumps it off to one of the best inside scorers in the country in Ballo. But here it is again, another double screen. Leads to a Ballo, one-on-one right under the basket. Why not just let him take it? Now back to Purdue. Easy. It's a very well-defended screen by Ballo. At this point, they've started switching screens, Indiana has. It's one of the defensive adjustments they made in this game. It's the end of the first half. They're up 7, and Purdue's like, we got to get a shot off. Here's Braden Smith. He's going to take it up right over Ballo. Just pure confidence at this point. Able to drill it. It's just a really tough bucket from Braden Smith for Purdue. And now that we're into the second half, we're going to take a timeout, just like they did in the game. What Indiana's doing really well so far is just straight up scoring. They ended the half up 4. They were up 7, as I tried to note here. It's right here with less than 30 seconds to go. They held that lead for a while, but they obviously let Purdue get a 3-point foul, and they hit all the free throws. What Indiana has to start doing a better job of is closing down in the end of a period situation, we're going to call it. Whether it's the end of the half or the end of the game. You know the end of the game situations. They've killed Indiana a few times. They killed them this game. Killed them against Maryland. It's happened a few times this year. And it's going to continue to happen until they fix it. Now, I noted that on this possession, Ballo was able to switch on to Braden Smith. That was one of the adjustments Indiana made in the second half, was switching on those screens, because at this point, Purdue's shooting 50% from the field, and there weren't really many adjustments made apart from the screen, which more or less worked. It's going to end up working more in the second half, but what Indiana needs to do is be more aggressive in generating turnovers, be more aggressive on the ball, get guys with quick hands just trying to poke the ball away, because when both teams are shooting as well as Indiana and Purdue were in this game, they're both shooting over 50% at halftime, just playing defense isn't enough. You've got to cause turnovers. And Purdue understood that. They did an entirely different thing from Indiana, and Purdue had 4 turnovers at this point. Indiana had 10 at the half. Purdue's generating turnovers and able to score off those turnovers, which is what kept them in this game against the Hoosiers. And so all those second chance points that Indiana was able to generate, like that 3 we saw from Goody, they were just kind of crossed out by Purdue being able to score off those turnovers. Now we're going to go into the second half, and we'll see what game plans, what changes were made, and able to kind of cause this game to go the way it did. Now, as you see, Purdue is instead up 6 now. They went on a 10-0 run to come out of the half. It kind of just smacked Indiana in the mouth. Indiana finally gets something going on this pick and roll from Galloway and Ballo. Like I mentioned earlier, is that Lawyer's collapsing because Ballo is one of the best inside scorers in the country. Who does that leave wide open? Mackenzie Mbako, who's the best scorer on the floor right now for either team. You could argue him or Braden Smith, take your pick. Lawyer has to try and recover. Pump fakes, gets by him, leads to a one-on-one in the paint. It's a tough bucket for Mbako. And now Purdue runs their own double screen, and Braden Smith hitting another leaner for the Boilermakers. Now here's Indiana trying to respond with a double screen of their own. It's Goody up here at the top of the screen, who you really can't see. He's kind of hiding up here. But again, it's Galloway and Ballo rolling. They've got 3 Purdue defenders on top of them. But Galloway's got confidence at this point in the game, which is something that Indiana has missed, is just confidence from their guards and driving. Takes it up on a few guys and able to get Indiana a tough bucket in a needed situation. Purdue responds with a pick and roll of their own. But here it is with effort again from Indiana. An offensive rebound from Purdue, and Mbako recovers on the defensive side, blocks it, and now it's a great shot from him. One dribble pull-up into the 3-ball, and kind of a perfectly executed 3-man weave, and Mbako able to celebrate this one. And again, Mbako's effort. You know that Purdue's defense is going to collapse on Ballo. Everybody's eyes are over here looking at the ball or Ballo. I mean, this dude's head is totally snapped around just trying to figure out where's the ball and where's it going to Ballo. Posted up on the block. Mbako realizes this, notices Smith is not looking at him, gets an open look, but here it is again with the confidence. This is an insane shot. I mean, Mbako's taking this up on one. It's a one-on-one, but still, there's 2 men who are literally on his hip. You've got a guy coming to help inside. It's just, it's tough. It's so tough. Indiana needs guys to continue to do that. This hasn't been consistent all year. They've seen it this game, and they saw it last game against Maryland. It's been tough shots, and guys have been actually able to make them. But against Northwestern, it was missing. Games before that, it was really missing when Mbako was really on that cold streak. We'll get back to gameplay here. Indiana able to take this lead back up. And this is actually great awareness by Leal. He knows he's got the one-on-one. He doesn't want to he doesn't want to dribble into a pull-up. Instead, he's going to drive, and he makes number one here collapse on top of him. Kind of tries to throw a lob to Ballo. Ballo is not paying attention that much. He still catches it, able to go up, get an easy bucket for Indiana. Now, this is good from Braden Smith. He runs the pick and roll, and at this point, there's 4 minutes left in the second half. The switch has been identified by Purdue. They know Indiana's going to switch. So what does that mean? He's got an open shot, but he doesn't want it. So who does he see? Anthony Leal on the hot Trey Kaufman-Renn, who's been hitting shots over Omar Ballo. Why won't he just hit one right on top of Anthony Leal, just like that? What does Indiana go back to? Oh, we're going Purdue first. Braden Smith, just another tough bucket. Ballo just not giving the greatest effort here on the switch. He kind of plays him at the top of the paint, but takes a swipe of the ball, but then doesn't follow Smith with it. Smith able to take a pull-up jumper. Now Indiana goes back to their old reliable double screen, but finally they hit Mbako in that corner three, which they haven't touched all game, but they needed it in that spot. Indiana down 3 again. Now this is a little different. Instead of a double screen, it's a double handoff. So you've got Ballo taking the ball at the top of the key, hands it off to Rice, who immediately gives it back to Galloway. Since Galloway's confident at this point, he's going to drive on whoever's in front of him, especially in a one-on-one situation, able to get Indiana closer down. It's the same thing, back-to-back plays, able to get his man to even go by him with the pump fake, steps into an easy floater. Now at this point, this is great defense by Indiana. 1-point game, you're at the end of the second half, trap Braden Smith because they're switching. Galloway recovers, leave the big man alone. But they know the big man's alone. Smith's able to make that pass. Ballo even recovers, but TKR was hot at this point, able to get the bucket for Purdue. Now to the end of the game. We talk about what's killed Indiana for the past 2 games and has in the past. Miles Rice to this point has not made a bucket. I don't know where the confidence came from, but I'm impressed by it to say the least. And now if you can kind of catch Mike Woodson up here, he's trying to wave his arm. I don't know if he's waving it as keep going, come in. I took it as get in here because I've waved like, hey, get over here. People aren't taking it like that, which I could see very easily because he's literally just waving his arm in a direction. You can see his white shirt collar a little bit, trying to pull him in. But Rice takes it. And what's bad about this is he's got a 3-on-4 here, or 3-on-5, really. I mean, Smith could come down and just totally cut off his drive. That doesn't happen because, thankfully, Galloway wraps behind him, but still, this is not smart at all. And what's even worse is you can't totally see it because my timeline's in the way. There's 2 timeouts. Indiana's got 2 timeouts, not just 1. It's not like they're going to waste one in case this shot misses, they get a rebound, call a timeout, and call a play at this point. No, you've got 2. They could have called one as soon as he crossed the timeline. That didn't happen. He doesn't get fouled on the shot either. He goes up, realizes he doesn't want it, and watching back the slow-mo from the baseline, it kind of looks like he tries to dish it down to Ballo here, but still that wouldn't work because TKR is standing in that lane. Ends up, TKR gets the rebound, loose ball kind of thing. Purdue able to make their free throws. Now Indiana's got one last chance, and it's a just total chuck it job. I'm not sure what really happened there. There was no motion if you watch it back. The only person moving on this inbound is Rice is coming here. Goody's at the top of the screen watching. Top of the screen watching again is Mbako. And it's just chuck it to Renew, and it doesn't go to Renew. And there goes the ball game for Indiana against Purdue. Now, when it came down to these pressurized situations for the game, Matt Painter's Boilermakers, they were just better coached for the moment. They capitalized on Indiana not being prepared for this. Purdue couldn't really hit a 3 all game. They were 2 for 13 in the game, but they were so efficient inside the arc. You saw Braden Smith hit pull-up jumper after pull-up jumper after pull-up jumper, and TKR was just hitting floaters and hooks and just putting a body on a body and making a tough shot. Purdue was just able to be consistently open inside the arc as well. You saw Braden Smith, he was hitting leaners, but he was still open against Indiana's man defense. Now, eventually, Indiana was able to start switching. They made that adjustment, switch on the screens, and still Braden Smith made him pay for it once or twice. But it worked a lot more. It slowed down Braden Smith. But then again, the effort wasn't there on the backside, and TKR really got hot in that second half. The other thing to note is that Purdue's ball security, second to none. They had 10 turnovers in the whole game. They had 6 in that second half. Indiana had 20. They doubled Purdue's turnover margin. That's what really kept Purdue in this game, was Indiana's offense, because they were able to just generate so many turnovers off of them. Now, what is something to note is Indiana was down 3 starters from foul problems. Purdue didn't lose a man to fouls. They had 2 guys at 4, but they still had their whole lineup that they wanted to go to. Granted, Leland Ballo, they went out late, but still, it's one of the best. That's arguably your best scorer, especially inside the paint, and one of your best hustle guys who's proven time after time in the late game situations he has to be on the floor in Anthony Leal. But again, the Hoosiers just couldn't capitalize. Now, the Hoosiers seem lost in these situations where Purdue just isn't. Indiana's offense was really great all game outside these turnovers. They shot 57% from the field. They were only 7 of 19 from 3, but they still were able to stay in it, and they hit a couple threes in each half. But like I said earlier, Indiana's offense kept Purdue in the game with these turnovers, and they allowed points off of them consistently. Now, I didn't have many highlights of that, but still, if you remember, you don't forget 20 turnovers. You guys remember a few of them, I'm sure. So Indiana's discipline is what lost them this game. But their discipline is going to be tested again tonight when they play the number 21 team in the country, Wisconsin, but they're in Madison at 9 o'clock tonight. Indiana hasn't beaten Wisconsin, not to mention in Wisconsin, since I can't even remember when. It's probably been the better half of a decade. Now, at this moment, Purdue sits half a game back from the number 1 spot in the Big Ten, and they look like it. They look like they should be that well. They're ranked 10 in the they're ranked 10th in the country. Meanwhile, Indiana fell to 9th in the Big Ten. They're tied with Oregon at 5 and 6, and they're really not even sniffing the tournament right now. How is Indiana going to turn this around? I don't know. The discipline's not there. Woody's just not. They're just not fired up enough. I don't know what the issue is inside internally, but these guys are making these tough shots. There's confidence there, clearly. We saw it with Galloway. We saw it with Mbako. They're hitting these tough shots consistently, and they're finally starting to realize where they need to be in these off-ball situations. But, like I said, Indiana's going to be tested again tonight at 9 p.m. in Madison, Wisconsin. And that's going to end this week's lesson. For the Hoosier Network, I'm William Stewart. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, have a great week, and God bless.